Welcome to the X's and Argos bi-week film session. Today we're going to take a look at the deep balls as delivered by both Nick Arbuckle and McLeod Bethel-Thompson. If you've been watching the Argos all season long, you've probably noticed that Bethel-Thompson takes more shots downfield than Arbuckle. Bethel-Thompson's RPO game and his short game, they're fine, and you'll see Coach Dinwiddie give him those opportunities. But we know that is what drives Arbuckle's play. That and those sort of quick one-steppers. The numbers back these things up as well. Arbuckle is averaging 7.6 yards per attempt, which is just above league average. But Bethel-Thompson has a more robust 8.5 yards per attempt. And there's an even bigger gap between them in terms of average target depth. So given that data, you would think that Arbuckle's completion percentage would be higher, but in fact, it's Bethel-Thompson who has the edge there as well. They both have 5 TD passes, but Arbuckle has thrown 6 picks. Bethel-Thompson has a clean sheet to this point in the season. So what are you telling us, Ben? Is McLeod Bethel-Thompson a better quarterback? Maybe. I would be telling you that if it weren't for the Saskatchewan game. But this Saskatchewan game a few weeks ago was the first time that Arbuckle was playing without a governor. He had his long nines aimed further downfield, if I'm looking for an Arbuckle Pirate reference. Against the Riders, Arbuckle's yards per attempt were 9.4, so that's a huge increase. He threw for over 300 yards, a pair of touchdowns. He looked very different in this game. And so that's the sort of wrench that's been thrown into this whole evaluation of the two quarterbacks. But what's most interesting is how both quarterbacks take very different opportunities to go downfield. When I talked to McLeod Bethel-Thompson after the Montreal game, I commented to him that his strategy seemed to be taking sure things against zone coverage, going short, and then really firing it downfield against man coverage, taking chances. And when I said that, he's like, yeah, of course, that's what you do. But this isn't a football rule. It's a philosophy. Sometimes it's a personal philosophy. Sometimes it's systemic. With Bethel-Thompson, this is clearly his personal philosophy. When he sees man coverage, he immediately looks for a home run. In his eyes, it's low risk, high reward. Because go routes rarely get picked off in man coverage. The defender's back is turned. It's a time that you can really take a chance. Your receiver's looking for the ball. The DB isn't. And if they're completed, they often go for scores. When Nick Arbuckle sees man coverage, he's not thinking deep pass. It could be a deep pass, but that's not what immediately comes to mind. He's going to throw to the best matchup every time. So it's often going to be Eric Rogers. He's a really tall guy, and he's often matched up against a smaller DB like Purifoy in the Saskatchewan game, for example. Or he might have a running back like Foster against a much slower linebacker. And like I said, sometimes those are deep balls, but they're dictated by who's running the pattern and who's in coverage. The only time that Arbuckle is guaranteed to go deep against man is when there's a double move on the outside, or essentially when it's part of the play design. And we've seen that before with Devaris Daniels, and we saw it here against Saskatchewan. Devaris, he's looking like he's stock blocking off the line, then suddenly he shifts gears, takes off into the end zone. This is a design play. It's part of a larger concept RPO, but the point is this is the exact route that Arbuckle is reading here. So it is against man. His man bites, and there's Devaris in the end zone. Most of Arbuckle's deep passes are against zone coverage, which Arbuckle is great at reading. But it also explains why he hasn't thrown a lot of bombs. You see, most of Coach Dinwiddie's zone beaters are floods. And so unless there's a bust, the defense is going to give you the short completion over the deeper one. And so that's what Arbuckle's going to take. Against Saskatchewan, the deep zone shots weren't design plays. They were the result of scramble rules, which was something that they had actually been working on leading up to the game. When I spoke to Arbuckle after the Saskatchewan game, I asked him about these plays, and he said, yeah, this is totally the result of us working in practice on scramble drills. So he would break the pocket, guys would go into scramble rules, and he'd find them downfield in a void, in a zone. So this play here puts a lot of pressure on zone coverage, but not deep downfield, at least not initially. So we've got two half-field concepts that are going to pair together very nicely. We sort of got a variation of dagger here on the boundary. White is going to go stretch the coverage to the sideline here, and Daniels has a go route. When you call this concept, you'd love to see cover 2 or cover 3 here, where White can really pin his flats defender, and then Daniels can sit in the void in front of deep half or deep third. Rogers has a dig, which is actually going to pair up nicely with what we've got going on in the other half of the field. So his dig is a little deeper, and it's going to create this high-low on the linebackers with Brissett coming across at about 5 yards as part of this sort of double dig they've got going on the field side. So on the snap, Arbuckle, he reads zone. So he's immediately going to look to Daniels, like I talked about. You want to see zone with that concept. However, they're not playing him in that traditional cover 2 or 3 style. They're playing him with a bit of a trail, which makes this a much riskier throw. So Arbuckle scrambles to his left to buy time, and that initiates scramble protocol. So Rogers is coming across on his dig route. He sees Arbuckle scramble, and then suddenly Nick Marshall goes flying by, and Rogers is like, wait a second, didn't Marshall just have deep half? And so Rogers is going to change course. He's going to get to open waters downfield. Arbuckle finds him with a beautiful deep ball. He's going the other way, off his back foot. This ball goes 50 yards in the air. This is a gorgeous strike. But this wasn't going to be a play it's not designed as a play that's going deep from the snap of the ball. That was where the weakness in the zone coverage was, but only after he scrambled and Rogers adjusted. Two quarterbacks, two different philosophies under the same system. Neither philosophy is better per se, they're just different. Now, Arbuckle's philosophy is more in line with Coach Dinwiddie's system, a system that's predicated on running the ball well with these big physical receivers out there blocking, and also taking advantage when defenders start to poach using RPOs and the quick hitters that we talked about earlier. But as more speed receivers get mixed into this offense, like Chandler Worthy, for example, are we going to see Coach Dinwiddie's system evolve? That's the big question going forward. I hope you enjoyed this week's X's and Argos film session. Until next time, this is Ben Grant saying so long, and may all your pre-snap reads be good ones. I'll see you.